ORT has been committed to improving people's lives through education since our founding in 1880. We have delivered an extremely difficult historical context, from the migration of Jews from shtetl to city in Tsarist Russia, to the DP camps after World War II, to the absorption of waves of immigrants into Israel. This is another moment in time when we are committed to providing access to education, especially for those who are at risk of being left behind. The American Federation of Teachers is dedicated to helping Americans secure a better life, a voice at work, and a stronger democracy. And these are the values that ORT promotes globally.
You are the first, Randi, the first speaker I have invited to participate in an ORT event. And I was, of course, delighted that you said yes. And I'll say you said yes quickly, which I think speaks to your own connection to ORT. So before we dive into the subject at hand, would you share your ORT history with us?
ORT was a pretty big deal in my family. And my cousins who frankly never, there was a piece of my family that we were very close to, came from Ukraine. ORT became the kind of mutual aid society that they were involved in. Their names were the Zones. I don't know what their names were in Europe, but it was ZOHN, Willie Zone and Heshy Zone. And, you know, they were really involved in ORT in the Bronx, you know, for as long as I remember them being alive. More than that, it's, you know, whether it was Workman's Circle, whether it was ORT, whether it's Caius, there, you know, Hadassah, there were a bunch of different ways that community got built. You know, not synagogue-based community. Many of you know I'm married to a rabbi, and you know, she, you know, and I've watched how she builds, you know, synagogue community. But these were pretty secular Jews who were very connected to kind of Yiddishkeit and Judaism in a communal way, but not in a religious way. And ORT played that role for them in a you know, the kind of both communal, social, and justice orientation all wrapped into together. So that's my ORT story.
It's a great ORT story, and not dissimilar from what we hear from so many people. And I continue to be really fascinated by how deep the roots go, and that I think that those feelings, those ideas of community and social connection and justice and all of that really is a thread that just continues to today. So I'm happy to be promoting those ideals.
We just, and I'm sure if I have a staff member on, they will put this in the chat room. I think Tom, if they haven't, they should. And I think Tom is on. But, you know, we spent a good long time, this is why I'm showing it to you. It's a plan to safely reopen America's schools and communities. We spent a good long time, like 4 weeks, trying to really engage this question about not whether, but how. I do believe that there is a need, to the extent that we can do it responsibly and safely, to reopen actual school buildings, even in the absence of a vaccine. Having said that, this is part of the reason why the physical distancing issues become so important and why we did this plan. Because yes, there's going to be blended. Yes, there's going to be staggered. Yes, there's going to be a lot more cleaning. Yes, there's going to be a lot of mask wearing. Yes, there's going to be, you know, there's going to be all of that. But I think that to the extent you can bring people together so that they can see each other, they can look at each other, not through a device, they can talk to each other. That is really important in terms of the human condition, and it's important in terms of social emotional issues as well as everything else. We have to think about next year or this next coming school year as a bridge year, as a year that's going to be quite different than anything else. Now, there's a lot of learning that people have done, life learning, because of what's happened this year. Yes, there's a lot of uncertainty. Yes, there's a lot of anxiety. But, and yes, there's been a lot of loss, particularly in the African American and Hispanic and Native communities. And we have to figure out how to meet kids' needs where they are. And that will be learning needs, that'll be social emotional needs. There will probably have to be some high stakes formative assessments to try to figure out that evaluation. And it's going to be different, frankly, if you have a kid in person versus remote. It's very hard to do anything but continuation on remote.
If you think schools could have a role in retraining and reskilling unemployed adults.
Yes, I mean, it's part of what, look, we're the largest higher ed union. We represent a lot of people who work for community colleges, and I myself taught at a career tech ed school when I taught in New York City, Clara Barton High School, for the health professions, and loved and fought at that time. I was in fights with Joel Klein a lot, but one of those fights were to keep the schools, which now, now they're in vogue. Now everybody loves having career tech ed. But this notion of working with, working to create a certification that then is monetizable is really important. But what we're also saying is that we have a higher graduation rate out of high quality career tech ed schools than we do out of academic high schools, because people see that they see the relevancy almost immediately. People are really uncertain about what's going to happen. We're facing a twin crisis of a public health pandemic where the first phase may be over, but just like smallpox, just like polio, just like the Spanish flu, we don't know what the next phases bring. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of uncertainty, and it's a lot of uncertainty economically. Those organizations that can help meet this are going to be the organizations that survive. Because people need organizations that provide the kind of training that ORT does, but also meets what their needs are, and does it in an effective and in an empathic way.